Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to your uncensored home for all things Warcraft. With your hosts, Berzerker and Navox, this is Unshackled Fury. Daylight savings has us all in a mood, but fear not. Good news is on the horizon, and the Unshackled Fury podcast is here to bring it right to your loving arms. Welcome to episode 48 of this fine program. I am your host, Berzerker, and with me, as always, is the Bunk Moreland to my Jimmy McNulty. He is Navox. Welcome back again, sir.
Yeah, it's still daylight outside, which is awesome, except it's not 6 o'clock. You know, it would have been 4 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. That's threw me all off there.
This is why people want to get rid of it, because it's too confusing.
It's so confusing. So this week, we actually, my raid team, we downed a heroic Mechatork, which is a fun fight. We discovered that I think our raid setup was a little bit better, that when you're doing that fight towards not the entryway to the fight, but the exit point, there are 4 different areas that you can stack up for that electrostatic shock that comes out.
You guys are rolling.
Well, it's fun. And also, just a note, Rastakhan was a hard fight. Mechatork, not so hard of a fight. It's just a very mechanic-heavy fight. And then the next fight after that, Blockade, seems like a easier fight than Mechatork. So it's things to look forward to there for anybody who's still working on that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I still like that the fights are still challenging for us. I like that we, once you get enough gear, you steamroll a bunch of stuff, up to you get back to your progression fights kind of quick. So I'm really enjoying this raid instance so far. Other than that, I am still leveling up my Horde Death Knight because
oh boy,
I am not a mount collector, but if there's an alliance mount, like an alliance centric, like if there's a mount that has any sort of alliance symbol on it,
I know where this is going.
I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And it's the wolf. I want that wolf, and you have to level a horde, and you have to do the war campaign to do it. Yep. So I figured, fuck it, I'll do it. And God, listen to me dropping the F-bombs. I should,
It's a good thing we're an uncensored show.
I'm at a 10. I need to drop back down to like an 8 or 5 at this point.
You're taking those. You're on the juice again, aren't you?
It's not the juice. I haven't been on sugar in quite some time because I've been on this whole working out weight loss journey thing, and I had a thing of Sour Patch Kids that turned out that orange Sour Patch Kids were tasting like medicine, and it was funny because right before the show, I had tweeted out to Sour Patch Kids, and they're like, "Oh, that's not good. Send us a picture of the UPC packaging." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And then they're like, "Send us your address." So I'm hoping that I get like a box of Sour Patch Kids. I don't know. I don't know.
You get 2 free packages of other medicine-tasting candy.
Unshackled Fury, sponsored by Sour Patch Kids, because 2 Sour Patch Kids. But yeah, what you're hearing is me sugared up at the moment. So I haven't been doing that in a while.
It's a perfect time to catch your energy.
But other than that, I'm really, we'll talk about the whole horde leveling thing later on in the episode. But other than that, looking forward to this week, we've got our patch coming out Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
And other than that, what about you? What's been going on in Berzerker's world?
Been a busy couple weeks. I'll say that for sure. And it hasn't all necessarily been Warcraft related, although it has affected my rating schedule, which I have not been too excited about. But at the beginning, going back a couple of weeks to kind of kick off where we left off last time, you and I made our final appearance on another show that we discussed last time we were here. We were invited on and hosted by our dear friend Ro on his show Rolling Restart. So we were on Rolling Restart, I believe it was episode 56. And had a good time with him. We talked about a whole bunch of good stuff, Alliance-oriented, and brought the Alliance banners to bear on what is, I suppose you could call a Horde-centric, more often show. So it was nice to wave the blue and the gold and ride a lion into combat over there and do our business. So had a great time over there. Always good talking to him. He's one of the great folks that we've had a chance to meet and get to know in our time here in the podcast community. So go check that out, Rolling Restart, and see what we were up to over there, as well as just the show in general. But one of the other things we've got news item-ish related is that we now have, after years of back and forth in my own brain as to whether or not to actually do this, we now have an official Twitter account for the show. Woo-hoo. So now I'm segregating myself and my antics and bullshit from the show antics and bullshit. So if you are listening to this show and you haven't done so already, feel free to go out there in the Twitterverse and follow this show at unshackled_fury. That's it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So trying to build the following back up there. It's a little weird. It's always been under my handle, and now we're trying to do it on the show handle, and you're trying to build that up and get people to see it, and you never know how that's going to go. It'll grow. It'll grow with time. It always does. So it'll grow with time. And I am definitely one of those people where I will cut out the ones that look like they're bots and bullshit. Like we're not just going to have a bunch of fake numbers and here's 10,000 people that just happened to show up one day randomly, miraculously, after a small payment was made somewhere or something else. It'll probably be a little looser in terms of the follows and some of those kinds of things, but I'm going to try to keep it as legit as possible. But please, if you're on Twitter, go out and follow the show. Again, that new Twitter account is unshackled_fury. Now, as for me, the last couple weeks, rating my team has been doing really well, but unfortunately, in that last 2 weeks, I have missed 3 progression kills.
Oh, wow.
I missed the clearing of normal, so I missed the final Jaina kill, and I've missed the first 2 heroic encounters that they have managed it down, or I was there for the first, and I missed the second and third, somewhere in there. I don't know. My raid leader listens to this, which probably isn't a good thing, so I'm sure he'll correct me later, as he is wont to do. But yeah, it hasn't been too great. I haven't been too excited about missing those, and most of that's been due to long discussed issues of chronic pain on this show, things that I've talked about before in terms of, at the end of the day, when it's in the evening time after you've been sitting at a desk all day and you've got chronic back issues, sometimes it's just murderous to try to sit in one spot for hours at a time and not move. And the last weekend, a week ago today, if you and I had been planning on a recording, there's no way I could have done it because I was literally just laying on a couch or in my chair. I have a chair that reclines. I was sitting in my recliner for two and a half days straight because my entire upper back locked up and I couldn't stand up. I could barely move. It really sucked. So that cut into my raid time, and then also had a family emergency pop up. So I'm literally in the middle of raid, and this thing goes firing off, and I feel bad. I feel terrible about it because if you're on my raid team, all you hear is me coming on Discord and going, "Well, sorry guys, I gotta go," and then I'm out. And that's just, I hate doing that, but real life takes precedent, and that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm hoping that this week, 8.1.5 coming out. Got a whole bunch of new stuff. We got to finish up our raid business. All this jazz going on that I can get back to doing what I love, getting back into Warcraft, getting back in the groove, and hopefully my body and real life shit will cooperate. So now, speaking of 8.1.5, the next patch we've got coming out pretty much right at the time that this episode is going to drop. People will be getting ready, downloading updated versions of all of their add-ons and preparing for the battles to come. But there is one issue, above all else it seems, that's coming in this future patch that has generated an enormous amount of collective rage. So for this week, instead of my personal rage or your personal rage, we're going to focus on something that's more of a collective outrage that's going on. So why don't we go ahead and dive into our rage portion of the show.
Let's rage.
Now, as I have said probably several months now when discussing 8.1.5, and this probably goes back to BlizzCon because I think this is the first time that we saw this thing. The portal rooms that are being added in 8.1.5 in and of themselves, I think have been a welcome addition to the game. They look beautiful. Yeah. They are in both Orgrimmar and in Stormwind. You know, relatively easy locations, centralizing travel, makes a lot of sense. All good. All good. It all seemed great. But then we come to find out, as a community, not only what portals are being put into the portal room, but what portals throughout the game are being removed. And it is the removal of some of these portals that has people absolutely losing their shit. I mean, I mean, what's the main posting up to? It's like, you know, over 5,000 posts or whatever the thing
There's
is.
two. Yeah. There's two. Yeah.
And people are just going nuts. And you have some that haven't been around very long, like, say, the Legion portals in the Legion version of Dalaran getting wiped out. And, you know, one expansion, okay. They haven't been around all that long. But then you have ones like the Caverns of Time portal, which has been in the Wrath version of Dalaran for, what, 10 years?
Yeah.
Or longer? I forget what year this is, but some of this stuff has been around for a while. So you have people just going berserk. We've had a couple of blue responses, people coming up and saying, well, you know, we understand, but, you know, it's not so bad, is it, right? You know, and people coming back, oh, no, this is garbage. This is hot garbage. You guys are just making this more difficult. You're trying to make everything take longer. This is terrible. What is happening? Why are you doing this? Ah! Like, people just, I mean, even people I know that are fairly reasonably minded are just like, fuck this shit. Like they are just not happy. And then we finally got the one big blue response that basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, came down to one of the core tenets of the game has always been to keep the world feeling large, to make it feel like there's space involved and that it shouldn't be too convenient to just portal from place to place. Not only that, but there are also other means of travel within the game to get places other than a portal that can instantaneously take you, you know, to Dalaran or to Karazhan or to different parts of Northrend or what have you. So I know more so than myself, I know you're really in touch with the community and the forums and all that kind of jazz. So tell the folks about what you've been seeing out there.
Well, you know, right from the start, one of the main complaints is that it will make the game more, quote unquote, difficult for players. Now, this annoys the hell out of me because it's not going to make the game more difficult. It doesn't make the game more difficult. It just means it's going to take you longer to get to your destination.
Now, how much longer? How much longer are we actually talking about here?
We're talking about jumping on a flight master or jumping on your flying mount and maybe getting, like, going, you know, setting yourself on a destination and then getting up and grabbing a drink, using the restroom, taking a bio break or something that, you know, but you know, it's not going to make the game more difficult. And honestly, this is one of those game changers that I feel really doesn't affect the way I enjoy the game. But, you know, I did go out and I browsed the shit show in Vitriol of the WoW forums and found some posts that cracked me up. One right off the bat says there's no way to get to Caverns of Time. Now,
did they blow up the entrance?
When was the last time you went to the Caverns of Time?
I think I did Dragon Soul about a year ago.
Is there something in the Caverns of Time that I'm missing out on? I mean, I know this isn't a point for all of you Caverns of Time fans that enjoy running that content, but I mean, it doesn't really affect me all that much, and you're still able to do the Caverns of Time and all that. You know, it's just gonna take you a little bit longer to get there. You know. Also, no teleport to either Ironforge or Thunder Bluff. Okay. I've been to Thunder Bluff recently, and the minute I got there, I was like, okay, I just need to go to the auction house. I need to hit the bank. And then when I went back to try to go back to Borealis, there wasn't a port for that. So I was like, shit, I'm not going to Thunder Bluff anymore. I'm going to stick to Orgrimmar. And then for Ironforge, there's the Deep Run train, and god damn it, I still love taking that train back and forth if I need to. I love doing that. Other than that, I loved, oh God, this one, I love this post. And this was like the second or third post of one of the big ones. Worst decision ever. Unsub, vote with your wallets. Okay, asshole. So you want to boycott the game because some portals you maybe use 5% of the time are removed. GG, can I have your stuff? Okay, whatever. So
we can have an estate sale.
Yeah, exactly. Have an estate sale first before you get out of here. So, when I'm playing my Alliance tunes, Stormwind is my anchor for navigation for the rest of Azeroth, where if I'm not doing current content, example, Battle for Azeroth, I set my Hearthstone to Borealis and then use the Stormwind portal. And then from there, I figure out where I need to go. If I take a scenic route, great. And when I'm leveling my Horde tune, Orgrimmar is my hub. I use the two main cities for both factions for that kind of stuff. I do find, I use the main portals like Stormwind from Borealis or Silithus from Borealis. And to me though, nobody's going to think the world is more engaging after the portals are removed from the game. I'm going to say that. I don't think people are going to, once the portals are removed from the game, I don't think people are going to go, wow, I feel more engaged with the world at this point. No, you're still going to jump on your flight point and go. Yeah. It's still going to be a time sink for you. Now, here's some tinfoil hat stuff. What if this is just another metric for time played in game? I mean, you're playing an MMO. The game is designed to keep you, engaged while you're playing. So what if this is just another way for them to have some sort of metric to keep people in game a little bit longer? I don't know if that's something. It is what it is. Now, all of that being said, because they're taking the portals away, and I'm jumping topic in great Nav fashion. We're changing the strat here a little bit.
Boy, here you go.
Jump topics here because we're going to talk about this later on. With the patch coming in 8.1.5 and the revamp of Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch. Have you seen what they've done to these zones? I mean, Lord did this video of what's to come in 8.1.5, and there's a brief little view of the two zones revamped. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
So, while the portals are getting removed, and while we're getting put back on flying mounts in some instances where we're going to have to go to wherever it is we're going to, wherever you want to go to in the world without using a portal, what I'd be excited to see is a revamp of all of the older zones to bring World of Warcraft up to that art style. The old zones, I'd love to see that brought back up. So, it doesn't really affect me all that much. Coming back to the portal thing, it doesn't really affect me all that much. And for those of you that are just losing your minds over it, I'm sorry that you're losing your minds over it. I'm glad you feel that passionate about old content. Blizzard intended to remove these portals from the beginning anyway. They did it, and they correct me if I'm wrong. They wanted to do it in Warlords, and they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then they wanted to do it in Legion, and they still didn't do it again. Mm-hmm. So this is just a way to clean up things.
That's what it sounds like.
Do you remember in Wrath, whenever we had to go back and forth between Wrath and old content? Mm-hmm. I remember just taking the icebreaker ship and just always showing up in I forget what zone that is, but I always loved coming in on the ship and then having the mountains surrounding you on both sides. And it's funny because I'm talking about that now. That actually did make an impact on me at that point, because I mean I guess that's the type of stuff that Blizzard wants you to get back into, to like have that memory and have that thought that the world is a lot larger. But again, doesn't really affect me all that much. How about you? I mean, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm not feeling the level of rage that I think a lot of other people are, and part of it too is that, look, I understand it's a convenience issue. When you have portals that can drop you right at the gates of something that you want to do, that is convenient as hell. And especially when, let's say, because here's an example that I'll think of. I'll have like an hour. Maybe I get an hour out of my day when I get to play, and I go, you know what? I feel like running some old content to do a transmog run or some mount run or some kind of a thing, but I only have so much time. Which means that I want to get to wherever it is that I want to go and just run and go. When you have something and you're used to something, especially something that, or especially for a raid or a dungeon where something doesn't drop very often, like in Karazhan. Yeah, but in Karazhan you have the mount that drops off of off that first boss.
Yeah,
and there are people that have been farming that thing for years. To tell you the truth, I forgot that there was even a portal to Karazhan. I've been flying there from Stormwind for years. I didn't even know. I totally forgot if I ever did. So for me, I don't know. I never really used Legion portals because I kind of found them to be inconvenient to some degree anyway, because I had to go down to the basement and run to the thing and whatever. So I already kind of found them inconvenient, so I don't really care that they're gone. The Caverns of Time one, yeah, that one kind of sucks because it's been around for such a long time. But one of the things that they're also doing is that they're adding another guy in that you just go talk to him and he can take you to a couple places like the Hellfire Peninsula fix. That's how you can get there, talk to that guy. I think there's another one. So that, it sounds like there's some flexibility, but at the end, I have so many tabards and cloaks and rings and other crap that I've collected over the years that I have ways of getting around in the world without necessarily needing the portals. So while I get on one hand that you're losing the convenience factor, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm still going to do the stuff I want to do. And like, for instance, I wanted to finish getting all the plate out of Blackrock Foundry, the mythic plate, because that's some of the baddest looking stuff we've ever had. There's no quick way to get there. You got to fly your ass out there.
Yep, you do.
Got to go to my garrison or wherever, jump on a mount or the flight path, which is all jacked up, and you're flying through mountains, and it's actually kind of funny. And then get over there, and then you got to fly over the entrance. It's not that convenient, but you know what? I did it, and it was fun anyway, so I'm not going to get all worked up about it, especially considering the fact that we've been around this game long enough. We know how to get around, and to tell you the truth, it is kind of nice to fly over stuff that you haven't seen in a while and be like, oh yeah, I remember this place. Maybe Warlords of Draenor wasn't so bad. Look how cool this place looks. Not so bad. And the other thing, as you mentioned, is that they have taken these portals away from places before. This is not the first time they've done this. This is not the first time they've talked about this. And maybe after all the ballyhoo of this particular go-around, people will remember that they eventually do kind of reorient how many places they will keep accessible by means of a portal, and that from time to time they will do things to try to keep the world bigger. Yeah. It is kind of consistent, as far as I'm concerned, with past behavior. They haven't been consistent enough with whittling down some of these access points in order to maintain that goal, and that is certainly a fair criticism, I would say. And they admit to that, and I hope that they can remember that themselves. We got to kind of make a few changes here and there. But, if I have to spend one more minute on a mount, okay, fine. I'm probably going to spend more time being lost in whatever raid I forgot about, trying to figure out how the fuck to get to Timbuktu than I am, actually on the flight. So hopefully it'll die down. People will forget about this. I mean, this issue will be gone in a week or whatever. Yep,
this is the standard WoW player change. WoW players do not like change no matter what it is. No. Unless it's a DPS boost, everybody's like, yeah. But god damn you people, if you take away something that I hardly use, that I never thought about till it was an issue on the forums, now I'm going to be up in arms about it.
This is not a game breaking issue. really isn't. So, although I understand, and certainly I've seen people on my own raid team that have had a collective coronary about it. I understand, but at the same time, I don't think it's that bad. I'm glad that they're consolidating these portal rooms, and if they want to try to keep the world a bigger place and keep that sense of grandiosity alive, that's fine. At least they're telling us, and they're being upfront about it.
Exactly.
And they're trying to reiterate, this is why we've done this in the past. We should have been doing it more consistently. We are doing it now. They could have handled it better, but it is consistent with that theme. So I'm sure we'll all get over it. move on with our lives and enjoy all of the fabulous content that is to come. So with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and move on to our news and talk about all of the fun and games we've got coming in patch 8.1.5. Here we are on the eve, patch 8.1.5. It will be dropping this Tuesday, March the 12th, 2019, which should be right about the time that this show downloads. Could be during maintenance when you hear this thing, but it's coming. So let's talk about all of these fabulous things that are coming for us. And the first of which is a raid. Oh wait. It's not a raid. It's a prelude to a raid.
That's right.
Sorry. Yeah. Don't get confused here, folks, because the Crucible of the Storms raid does not actually come out until April the 16th on normal mode. So there's still another month here where you're working on existing raid. You're still doing the Zuldazar thing. We're not quite there yet. We have Crucible of Storms coming out as part of this patch, but a delayed release on April the 16th, with the Mythic and Raid Finder versions coming out on the 23rd of April. So that, a week later, and I'm sure we'll probably run another contest around that time. So keep your eyes and ears open for the next Mythic raid. Woo! Even though it's only a couple of bosses, so it should go quick, but you never know. So what do we get? What do we get that's raid related in the meantime? Well, we actually get something kind of fucking cool, and that is a series of quests leading up to the raid that have to do with something called Xal'atath, the Blade of the Black Empire. So Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire, what this was an artifact weapon for Shadow Priests back in Legion, and the really freaky thing about Xal'atath was that it's basically a sentient weapon that would say some really crazy stuff, which I highly recommend you go out and look and see what it is, because it's kind of foreshadowing a lot of stuff, and there's some really interesting things happening. Could it be powered by an old god? Could it perhaps be an old god? Like, there's some really big questions being asked about this weapon, and everybody will get to do a quest that has to do with this particular weapon and how that eventually leads into the Crucible of the Storms raid. So there's going to be a period of time here where there's some stuff going on, and then eventually off and into the raid we go. So what you're going to want to keep a lookout for is there is a quest line the quest line starts with a drop that you're going to get during a quest titled Naga Attack. It's a world quest, and you're looking for an Ajaran medallion. And then from there, you are going to go off on this whole grand adventure, and there's a bunch of freaky old god stuff happening. And I think it's safe to say, starting with 8.1.5, this is finally now an old god expansion. What say you, Nav?
I mean, if this is going to kick off the old god expansion, even though we had Gahoon who was another old god. Sure. Let's go with that. Now it's an old god expansion, even though it's not an old god expansion. I watched the reveal of N'Zoth cutscene on Wowhead. I like spoilers.
Whoa.
I watched the cutscene on Wowhead. I love the spoilers. I got I want to talk to you about this so much because I got this. I think people, I'm going to say 30 and up, and anybody who's seen the old Transformers movie animated will understand this.
Whoa.
But I got the very, very feel of when Unicron meets Megatron, where N'Zoth sounds like Orson Welles. I love that. So, and also something void elves are bad, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's a lot of good stuff coming that way.
Yeah, as we both play through this quest line now that the patch is going live, we'll come back probably on the next episode, unless this is gated somehow, and talk about all of the stuff that we've got going on and the implications of that going into the raid. Because, not to give away too much, but from what I've read or from what I understand, there is some element of this where N'Zoth wants us to succeed, which is never a good thing.
Like with Odin. Yeah.
The way that I came across this, it kind of reminded me of how, and people probably don't remember this, at least the people that didn't play through Wrath, is that the whole goal of the Lich King in Icecrown Citadel, in that raid, was to find the strongest champions amongst the Horde and Alliance and raise them as his personal champions in order to then go and take over the world, essentially. That was his whole goal. That's why we were up there. That's why he wiped us out, and that's why he tried to res us. That's the whole reason that the end of that fight happens the way that it does. And I kind of get the same sort of vibe from what's going on with this N'Zoth thing, because if bad guys want us to do well, that's not good. It's just never a good thing, and it always makes me a little nervous. But it's not like we have enough agency in this game to decide. Fuck that raid. I'm not going over there. I'm not doing that. No, oh God, yeah, stay over there. No, we gotta go. We gotta go plumb those depths and see what's going on. So it's gonna be interesting. But finally, we're getting some full face old god stuff, not just boss at the end of the raid or whispers of this and that. We're diving feet first, which makes a lot of sense considering 8.2 is Rise of Ashara.
Right.
And Ashara and old gods are like peanut butter and jelly. We have to get there. So on top of that quest line, we also get continuation of the war campaign quest lines for both the Horde and the Alliance. And this time around, at least for the Alliance side, I'm hoping that we're going to see a little bit more of what's been going on, and I think we will, with Derek Proudmoore. The reason that I'm saying this is that if you are, like myself, an Alliance player, and predominantly only an Alliance player, there is a lot of story going on the Horde side that we are missing.
Yep.
And it has to do with Derek Proudmoore, who was and is the brother of Jaina, son of Catherine, who was killed during the Second War. During this expansion, the Horde have found his body, have brought it to Sylvanas, who has resurrected him with the hope that he can somehow be turned or molded or something to infiltrate the Proudmoore family and basically kill them in their sleep. Sweet. Part of the interplay here that continues in the Horde leadership in relation to this particular issue is that Bane has been very outspoken about how wrong Sylvanas has been to do all of this. That bringing Derek back and to try to manipulate and do all these crazy things, because there's a part of a quest where you see him and he's being held up by these energy bonds and he's freaking out and he's trying to get out of there and he's lonely and what's going on and it's crazy and Bane's basically like, yo, fuck this shit, this is not right, we can't be doing this. If you're an Alliance player, you haven't been seeing any of this. If you're a Horde player, you've been neck deep in it already. So during this next period of war campaign questing, it looks like we're going to be seeing a continuation of what's been going on along those lines, including possibly some consequences for Bane for his objections, which I don't know if any of us are that surprised that you rise up or you say anything against Sylvana, she's going to try to, put the smack down.
Right, yeah.
Or do something. But you, sir, you've been going through and playing some of this Horde business. Have you actually been in the Horde section of Battle for Azeroth questing yet? And have you seen any of this kind of stuff yet?
I haven't seen anything with the zombie Derek Proudmoore stuff yet. And also, I don't know, how did the Horde come across, they found all the pieces of him. I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, he was in a coffin.
Oh, okay. All right. So
yeah, he was in a coffin. They found him at sea. They were looking for something else.
So part of the cutscene that I saw with that is that it happens right at the funeral of King Rastakhan, where the cutscene is where it's Bane and Queen Talanji and what's his face, Blightcaller, Nathanos, and they're discussing what they need to do next, and Thanos is like, hey, shut up, the war chief's here. So Sylvanas shows up and says, hey, yo, I got this plan. We're going to raise Derek Proudmoore, and I know this isn't the time to talk about it, but this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. And then that's when Bane objects to it, and he wants to call a truce and with Sylvanas, and Sylvanas goes, no, we're not going to do a truce. We're going to do something else. So that's how that's led up. Now, what I've been doing is I am very, very faction loyal to the Alliance side. That being said, I am also very, very bored in game at the moment because all I'm doing is raiding. I'm raiding and I'm leveling alts. Now, I still love playing WoW. That's me being bored doesn't equal tired of playing WoW. It's just I'm just tired of doing the same quest lines over and over again, and it's kind of insane thinking that, well, I'm playing an MMO. That's what you do. You do the same stuff over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm leveling the Horde character up, and I started in Zuldazar, and I'm actually enjoying the Horde storyline because I just want to get that mount. And I will say this, like I said, if you're growing tired of doing the quests over and over, you're in the wrong game all day. No. So give the other faction a try if you want to, because I'm rather enjoying the story. It explains a lot. Like, we just got Old Deer. Like, the Alliance side, they're like, go raid Old Deer.
Cool.
I'm sure there's some storyline to that, but just go raid it. Okay, well, the Horde get the storyline leading up to it, and you get to see how all of the characters and all the characters, all the bosses that you fight are characters within the Horde storyline. Mm-hmm. So you get to see, Zul's betrayal of King Rastakhan. You get to see, the big robot that you fight at the initial start. That there's a storyline that goes along with that, where it's sitting on top of the temple. Mm-hmm. You really are only getting half of the game if you're very, very focused on just playing the Alliance side. And I will say that I am enjoying seeing the storyline on the Horde side. Now, you'll feel all weird doing the war campaign stuff because you do go 1-to-1 with fighting the Alliance, but the majority of the Horde quests are, in Zuldazar especially, it's trying to free Zuldazar of this plague, which is the blood trolls. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what the blood trolls were as an Alliance because I'm just riding through and go, oh great, so the Horde have these things called the blood trolls now, and they're part of the Horde. No, they're not. That's a plague on the area. I didn't know any of that shit. I didn't know any of that until I started going through, and that the Horde don't like the blood trolls either. So there's that. I also didn't know that the blood trolls were controlled by Gahoon and all that. So you get all that. So I'm enjoying that. Eventually, I'm sure I'll come across this quest line with Derek Proudmoore and things like that. But it's interesting. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, if you're tired and you're just like, I don't really feel like logging in, well, log in, boost a Horde tune and go through the Horde storyline. It's worth it just to see it. Zuldazar is a fantastic zone. It's very, very, I don't know how to put it into words. I get the whole feeling, the whole jungle feeling, the whole like Indiana Jones adventure, Alan Quartermain, that type of thing. That whole genre. I get that feeling while I'm leveling there, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, and to your point, we say it a lot around here. We're very Alliance heavy, and that's how it's always been. And to an extent, when we're shitting on the Horde, I mean, there is an amount of that is tongue in cheek, because to your point, there is a lot of story being told on both sides of the fence. And one of the other, I think, probably the most interesting quest line that was introduced in parts of Battle for Azeroth is what's been going on with Vol'jin. Mm-hmm. And them trying to figure out who is it that's responsible, it might be an old god, for whispering to him in his dying moment that Sylvanas should take over as war chief. And so it's this whole thing where they're going to Bwonsamdi, they go to the Lich King, they're going around and trying to figure out like who wanted Sylvanas to be in charge. And there's all of this interaction going on with other characters and other parts of the world, and that I think that's phenomenal. And as an Alliance player, I feel like we're kind of missing out because, yeah, that's right, I still hold the ghost of Varian Wrynn very close to my heart, and I would love it if we got to go pal around with him and do some shit in the afterlife. But what they've introduced with Vol'jin is a fascinating storyline to follow, and I doubt that I'll be leveling any sort of Horde character anytime soon. But I will be paying attention to that storyline because I do think that is very impactful to the future. Because whatever is going on there, it's going to have some kind of repercussion down the road. So speaking of repercussion, going back to the war campaign real quick, we've got all this stuff going on with Derek Proudmoore. They're trying to bend him to the will of Sylvanas and trying to make him an infiltrator and all this kind of stuff. Where do you think that all of this is going to end up?
Well, because you had mentioned it yourself and I don't know if it was the last show or if it was a show we were doing with Ro, that we still have yet to see, what's her name?
Kalia.
Yeah.
Kalia Menethil, sister of the previous Lich King.
Yeah, we haven't seen Kalia Menethil, who is now a undead. I'm sorry, not undead. She's kind of both. She's like an undead light priest. Like an undead light priest, exactly.
She's a little bit of both. It's weird.
So you're going to have, I think what you'll see is, hey, look, we've got Derek Proudmoore, and he's now insane because that's what happens when you bring corpses back. We see it in every genre. Whenever you bring a corpse back, they're not all there because it's,
Yeah, look what happened to Church the Cat.
Or Zombie Optimus Prime. When he came back, he was all crazy too.
Yeah, buddy. Zombie Superman, he was whooping us some ass.
Oh, that's right. So to your point, I think it's what you had said. I think the story is going to now come. The things that we saw in Before the Storm are now coming out too, because we're also going to see the continuation of what happened to the Gnome and Goblin team. Mm-hmm. That's going to come into play. Mm-hmm. I think we'll see Kalia Menethil, her storyline come into play.
I hope so.
And then eventually it'll merge all in with this Derek Proudmoore storyline. And then a lot of things are going to come to a head once we start dealing with Ashara. So
it'll be interesting to see too is which of these threads actually resolve within the scope of this expansion, because as we know, as time has gone on, particularly with Warcraft's writing team, is they leave these threads out there and then they don't get answered for an expansion or two, and so we're kind of clawing at them and looking at, okay, well, and for God's sake, the most classic example, Soralion and Ilaria, where are they? Where did they go? Are they behind this rock? Are they under this mat? Are they behind that door? People were looking for them everywhere. I remember the old, Thoughtbot. They were posting, maybe they have Ashbringer and they're going to just show up. I mean, it's just all kinds of random stuff. You see that throughout the game. So maybe we don't get a lot of Kalia Menethil's story yet. Maybe we don't get a lot of Talia Four Dragon's story yet. Maybe we're just getting introduced and then they come back. Or they come back at the end. Or there's some other thing left yet to be resolved. We still have a whole bunch of mechagnomes we haven't even seen yet. And what the fuck are they going to be doing? Because we got a gnome king who's basically kaput, at least for the moment. Maybe they got to build him a new robot body and transfer his brain into some crazy mech. I mean, who knows? We still have a lot of life left in this expansion yet. So I think that's where you see some of these threads and how interesting they can be and where they're going. And that's what keeps me hooked. Always has, always will. With the Derek Proudmoore thing, I don't know. I feel like someone's going to become compromised, and it is going to come at a cost. Before this is not. No one's going to get clean out of this. Something bad's going to happen. It's just a question of which one of the Proudmoores is going to die first, I guess, or again. So that will be very interesting to watch. And of course, coming back in 8.1.5, beyond the storyline stuff, is the Brawlers Guild.
Yeah.
Finally making a return, making its debut in Battle for Azeroth. And this time, not only do we get all of the fabulous fights and the one-on-one PvE content that I love so much, we now get a murder mystery questline. Not a lot of information that I'm going to dive into right now about how that works, but My understanding of it is that once you're in the Brawlers Guild and you're taking on fights and you're making your way through it, that quest lines are going to start to appear, quests are going to start to appear, and you'll get breadcrumbs as you progress throughout your adventures there. Brawlers Guild, for folks that may not know, this was introduced several expansions ago. There are 8 ranks of fighters, and I believe it's about 3 or so fighters per rank, 3 to 4 maybe, depending on the tier. And they all have some different kind of thing about them that makes the fight special. It's not typically just tank and spanks. There's, ads to manage, or you have to do, certain types of movement on the floor, or you have to run from one place to another, or there's always some crazy thing going on. So now you've still got ranks 1 through 8 on this version. Everything's tuned to 120. New bosses, old bosses, a lot of fun stuff. It sounds like if you've been in the previous versions, like you've had access to them before, you should have access to this one now again. If you've never been granted access to the Brawlers Guild before, you have to get what's called a blood-soaked invitation. And I couldn't actually find a way to get one in this expansion, so I don't know if that's been revealed yet or I just didn't quite see it. But in order to get in, you have to have one of those, and then once you do, you have access on all of your tunes. So you'll want to do that. But this time we get an awesome murder mystery quest line. That the final reward of said quest line is the Crocolisk Mount Bruce. Bruce being one of the constant combatants in the arena in the Brawlers Guild, so that'll be nice to ride his ass around after we stuff him and mount him and do the whole thing. There are also rewards you can get that give you all kinds of buffs, and there's some challenge cards. You can fight other challenges, and you can get a temporary graveyard in the arena, all kinds of jazz. I always think it's a lot of fun. I always love going down there and testing my metal, and then getting my ass kicked, and then reading guides and trying to figure it out, and still not doing well, and coming back a little bit later when I get a little more gear, getting mad, and trying to sneak into the baller's room, and I can't get into the private club, and they kick me out, and it's a whole adventure, and I really enjoy it. But how about you, Nav? What's your experience been like with the Brawlers Guild?
I remember doing it in Legion, and I did it. I forget why I did it, but there was a specific reason why I did it, and I don't know. I forget if it was for a mount or if it was for a food item or something that I needed to get. I forget at this point. But I went out there. My experience with the Brawlers Guild is I cheat. I have a YouTube window open with people who have done the Brawlers Guild, and I'm just like, okay, so fight 1 is this, and you want to do this. Fight 2 is this, and you want to do this. Fight 3 is this, and you want to do this. So I do cheat. I'll say I cheat. I have a guide up on the second window when I do them. I think they're a lot of fun. It reminds me of it's kind of similar. It's not as hard as the Mage Towers. It's just a fun little puzzle thing, and you can't just brute. A lot of the fights you can brute force, but a lot of the fights are just like
you can brute force them after a certain point, but earlier on, typically you have to do mechanics.
Yeah.
And you have to do them well.
Yeah, and I'm God, for the life of me, I'm still trying to think like, what did I get? There was something specific I went down there for to get, and it had to have been either it had to be a recipe transmog or a mount. It had to be one of those 3 things, because other than that, I'm not usually doing that content unless I'm trying for a mount, transmog, or recipe. Now I did see Bruce. I do want that. I do want that mount, so I'm going to do this. But I also want the transmog stuff I saw in there. It looks really cool. So.
You better give us swim speed. Like, that would be ridiculous if you had a Crocolisk mount and he didn't get like increased swim speed of
I got
250% or something. I didn't see it.
He just can't corner. He just can't make turns.
No,
he can go straight line really quick, but he can't turn.
I'd take that. Yeah, one of the things I really like about the Brawlers Guild too is not just the individual challenge, because I enjoy the sort of the PvE one-on-one version of what goes on there, but I also really enjoy watching other people trying to overcome these challenges, because you can see what they're doing in real time against these bosses, and you'll see somebody who's, hacking away at something, or they just miss a mechanic, or they totally have something on lockdown, and then something goes sideways, and boom, their health gets dropped to 0, and down they go, and everybody's booing, and people are throwing stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It really is something that I have enjoyed for many years now as a player of this game, and I'm glad to see that they are trying to refresh it a little bit, because to an extent, it kind of gets stale because it's fights, and you do the fights, and you go through, and you do the thing. But adding a little quest line, and adding a mount reward, and getting more stuff that you can get as part of a reward, and help out other players with buffs, or you can throw stuff, or you can do a free-for-all, and you can fight the other people that are just hanging out in the crowd, and it's just fun. It's just fun, and I really enjoy it. So those are some of the major topics or the major items that are coming in 8.1.5 that we haven't addressed really all that much on the show in detail. Because beyond that, obviously, we have the allied races that are finally coming after much hue and cry. The Kultirans and the Zandalari will finally be available. I did finish off my Proudmoore Admiralty rep just this past week, and in doing so, I also got the achievement for 45 Exalted Reputations. So yeah,
awesome.
I know,
awesome. Good job.
It's probably 3 times as many. I don't even know how many there are in the game. I was way more than that, but I was like, all right, 45. I don't know. That's kind of a random number to pick, but I guess that must have been from 3 expansions ago when that was near the max or something. So I know for myself, I'm ready. I'm ready for this Kultiran adventure, and I will certainly be making one. And what will be easier to make one is that we are now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe we're getting 50 characters per server.
Oh, that's right. On the same server. Yes.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
Because I know that there are so many names that I try to save for future characters, and I can only save about 3 at a time.
This gives everybody a chance to hoard names.
So now there's going to be the great name hoarding, and I've got a list of about 25 that as soon as it opens up on Tuesday, as soon as I get home, before I feed my child, before I let the dog out to go pee, before I even go to the bathroom, nothing. I'm running upstairs, logging in, and I'm saving about 25 names if I can. So I've got some good names I've been trying to save, and then we'll make a Kultiran, which I guess I'll have to level to get this heritage armor.
Yeah.
So
now, they're gonna start? Do we know what level they're gonna start at? Are they gonna start at 20? Or are they gonna?
I think they all do, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah. You can write us in and tell us we're wrong if it's something else.
Tell us we're wrong. Absolutely. Contact the show at unshackled_.
Fury. Yes. So hopefully, all of you out there, you've completed your war campaigns, you've done your Tides of Vengeance questing, and you have got your rep built up so you can unlock either your Kultiran or your Zandalari as you see fit. Nav, what will you be doing first with your Kultiran?
Oh my god. So my Kultiran probably going to make a warrior and a hunter. And I'm going to try to level both of them. It's going to be, this is going to be a lot of work, but I got to try to level both of them at the same time. I'll probably end up doing the warrior all the way through and then the hunter all the way through. And
you got to get that druid fired up.
The druid, I may race change my druid from the night elf over to a Kultiran. I don't know, but maybe I'll level.
Are phenomenal.
Actually, that's a good point. Maybe I'll just level the druid up just because I have to take one all the way to 120 to be able to unlock the gear. So I might do the druid then. I didn't think about it, but I think that's probably the best way to do it. So
real-time decision making, folks.
I know it's like crazy because then I'll just spend hours in the character select menu.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It's like, do I want that color hair or do I want this color face, that hair?
How big of a beard must I have?
Skin tone was wrong now. Let me create it. And then you're like, oh shit, I don't like it. I'll make another one to see if the other one looks like this one. I like the other one better, but I like the name. Yeah, so yeah, it's a whole mess.
Oh yes.
Creating a character.
Yeah, I will undoubtedly make another warrior. And probably play for about 10 minutes and then decide, you know what? I think I'm going to try something else. And then this might be the first druid I level. Ever.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. because I love the art that they did. It's so awesome. It's just, and that's where, again, criticized for different things, lack of tier sets, this and that, blah, 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 but they killed it. They killed it with the art set on this.
I'm mad because I had the name Sonya. I had the actual name Sonya from what do you call it? From
like Red Sonja?
No, like Sonja. I had that name, and I'm like, well, I don't need this name anymore because it's taking up too much of my character spaces. Like you said, I didn't have enough, so I deleted it, thinking I'll come back to it at some point. Then the Coltyrans came out, and I'm like, Jesus, that's the perfect body for Sonya, and I would have the character name, and somebody snatched it up on me. So So
this is what happens. Better get your list ready. So we've got finally Coltyrans, Zandalari coming. We also have the portal rooms, which we have already discussed at length. I will enjoy them. You will enjoy them. We all will enjoy them to some degree, and they will be fine. We are also getting as you mentioned before, the remastered versions of both Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch, which I haven't been in either of these in a very long time. So it'll be nice to try those out again, just to kind of get a flavor for how bad the Alliance is at those.
They look so good.
They look so good. Well, and to your point, it always depends on resources, but when they're able to go back and update, 2003, 2004 versions of something.
I am down. I'm not holding on to any of that. I am not holding on to any of them as like, oh my God, I can't believe you changed any of this. No, change all that shit. I don't care.
That's what Vanilla WoW was for.
Exactly.
Sorry, Classic.
Classic. If you want to see it, go to Classic. There you go. Yep.
So we'll have those we can do. We'll also have the Wintergrasp Epic Battleground, which we talked about last time. And I'm really looking forward to jumping back in there and strapping in one of those steam tank deals and going apeshit on some horde baddies. We also get, we don't get anything. Hunters. You hunters out there. And I know we have a couple of hunters that listen. So you folks that had your beast mastery weapon, this Titan Strike business, you got yourselves a little wolf buddy. Wolf buddy by the name of Hattie, or Hattie, or Haiti, or Hati. I don't know how to say it. I just know how it's spelled. You lost your little buddy, and much lamenting was had across the land. Well, guess what? In case you hadn't heard, which I'm sure by now you have, in 8.1.5, you will get a quest line to reform Hattie. Oh, isn't that nice?
It looks awesome, though. That little blue wolf with electricity coming out of it. That looks pretty sweet. It looks really cool. I don't have a hunter, but...
Yeah, it doesn't affect me in the slightest, but you know what? Not only do you get them, but you get a bunch of consumables related to them, and one of them actually turns them into a mount.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So I never want to hear hunters complain about shit.
Dude, that's really cool. So it turns him into a mount, so you would ride him so he'd be your pet, and you could ride him and then just launch into attack and have your pet attack.
I guess.
That's pretty cool if that does anything like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
That's pretty sweet. So speaking of pets, we also will be starting with 8.1.5, raiding with leashes, the Pandaria edition. And you got a whole bunch of new pets. You can go out and go into the old raids and beat some ass and get some pets. And if you collect all of the ones coming out with this version, you will get a Shaw of Happiness pet, which I think they're just calling it Happiness. But for those of you that were around then, there was and correct me if I'm wrong here, there's a community member out there, the Shaw of Happiness, I think it was Shappy, was also a name I remember. I think this person kind of disappeared. I haven't seen them in a while or something to that effect. So it is kind of nice to see another community nod, because I don't know that I've seen that many as of late. Or maybe I'm just not noticing or glossing over them, but it's always nice when they throw in a little nod to somebody here or there. And rounding out all of our 8.1.5 goodness, we have some more Magni quests dealing with the fact that our planet is dying. Lest we forget that amongst everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
The planet still has a giant sword stuck in it, and it's been bleeding, and we've been abusing its blood for our bloodthirsty purposes.
But these portals are disappearing.
But these portals are disappearing. That's what we got to care about. Meanwhile, the planet is in agony, and my understanding is that we're helping to repair it, but it's still all jacked up, and I don't know where this is going. I don't either. This is one thread where I'm like, I know they got it planned out, but man, I don't know how all of this is going to collide. But they better start getting some direction soon, because it's, hey, we did this thing, the planet's still hurting. Hey, we did this thing now. Oh, it's looking bad. Hey, we did this thing. Oh, it's even worse.
It's like it's like a heart of Azeroth is like a little Tamagotchi of Azeroth, and it like they're trying to feed it. It's just
paging Celestalon. Yes, the heart of Azeroth Tamagotchi. Better get that shit out there. Make that part of the WoW companion app. Oh, you better feed that shit. It's gonna die. Oh Lord, yeah. So we're getting a bunch of quests related to Azeroth and Magni and what's going on there. They'll also be introducing the Warlords of Draenor time walking. If I can say that word right. They're adding a ride to the Dark Moon Fair.
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Well, congratulations, Perculia and Dark Moon Herald folks, because I know this is right up your alley. So enjoy that. And last but not least, we haven't talked about this on the show, and mostly because I just cannot care about my professions, but there are some pretty interesting quest lines being added for each profession in this next patch, which I'm sure other people have been covering in far greater detail than we'll do here. But if you've maxed out your professions, quest lines will be available to you to obtain items that will actually have like a little bonus for you based on the profession that you have. So like with blacksmithing, you'll be able to repair an item for free once an hour, I believe. You'll also be able to have an increased chance of getting indestructible on items that you craft. I think on some other ones, you can get health from certain things, and you can... I can't remember what some of the other ones are, but there'll be something for everybody, essentially.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, especially the jewel crafting one, because jewel crafters have been wanting to be able to remove gems that you placed in an item and still maintain the gem. So they're putting that in game, which
nice.
is kind of that's really cool. So,
well, that'll save you some bucks.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that, in a nutshell, is a lot of the stuff that's coming in 8.1.5. So I know people have complained that, well, there's not a raid in this patch. Well, technically there is. Yes, it's not happening day one, but there is a lot of other stuff that's going on, and I hope that, part of what people need to keep in mind is that this is a huge game, and when you take it in totality, there's a lot happening, but I think what happens is that we focus on the one particular thing that we do, and when there's only that much of that one thing, you go, oh, there's nothing left to do.
Right.
Well, even I have to admit, you have to expand your horizons, and you have to try some different things, and that's where all the rest of this good stuff is happening. So, shit, maybe even I'll go out there and see an old raid and try to get a pet. I don't know. Not like I do anything with it, but it might be nice to see. So, before we go, looking at all of this jazz, 8.1.5, coming right now. Nav, what are you going to be doing first?
Well, the first thing I'm going to be doing is... trying to reserve one of those names for the Coltyrans, and I'll probably end up trying to start a Coltyran and level it up right out the gate. And that's probably the most of what I'll do on Tuesday for a couple minutes, and then it's right into raid time, because Tuesday is a raid night for me. So that's what I'll be doing. But maybe Wednesday I'll level up that Coltyran some more.
There you go.
But still got to continue working on that Horde, because I want that Alliance mount.
So dedicated to the Alliance, you're willing to switch sides.
I pretend that he's a deep cover operative. That's how I'm going through my head. That's how I do it. So that's how I make it through.
Oh, that's fabulous. And I will be, I'll be going through my war campaign. I'll be going through my quests. I love questing, especially when it's new. See, I love questing when it's new. When it's the first time you get to do something, I love seeing the new stuff, especially as we're picking up the next chapters in the storyline. So I'm going to try to get that done sometime Tuesday if I can. If not, it'll probably be after raid. It's probably supposed to be doing something else to get my 400 gear at a Warfront, but that's how that goes. So yes, looking forward to 8.1.5. Lots of good stuff going on, and it leads us into our next raid here in about a month. So next episode, we'll be talking about sort of the fallout from this patch, what happens between now and then, of course, our experience with the new quest lines, our impressions of what's going on, and sort of what we think will be coming next, leading into the raid. All right, well, I think that'll do it for this episode. Other than this fine program, where can the good people find you on the internet, Navox?
You can find me out on Twitter and Twitch. I am at NAV_OX.
As for me, you can always find me on Twitter at Berzerker Rage, and you can find this show at Unshackled_Fury. Feel free to contact this show with your questions, comments, or otherwise at unshackled_fury@gmail.com. And you can find this show on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.